Hi and welcome to this Sonic Academy producer walkthrough. I'm Paul Maddox and I'm going to be showing you through my recent release on Tripoli Trax called Got Power. The concept for this track was that I'd seen that Tripoli Trax, a label that I'd been into for many years, was relaunching after a bit of a hiatus, and wanted to produce a track with them in mind. So I kind of took ideas from two of my favourite releases on the label and tried to combine them into something new. So the tracks that I was listening to were Exit EEE Epidemic, which was one of my favourites and where I took the idea for the riff from. So that was the riff idea, and then there was a track called Restless by Two Slags, which was where the idea for the kind of bass groove and feel of the bottom end came from. So they were the two ideas that I really wanted to get into the track, that kind of bumping really low down the keyboard bass line, and the kind of slightly trancey riff, but with sort of the big gaps in it. It kind of is quite an interesting riff. So they were my two basic ideas. So first of all, I went in and started with the kick and the bass. So the kick was quite simple, just two kicks laid up. You can hear one of them was this one, which was just low pass filtered. Here it is without the filter. So that was just for the bottom end. And then there was another one sampled off another record, which I did the opposite with. It was kind of a more distorted, punchy kind of kick. So that one I just high-passed so that the two complemented one another. So as you can hear, put together, they make quite a nice mid-rangey but hard kick. So there's not a huge amount of bottom end in that kick drum, but I knew that the bass line was going to have quite a few notes actually playing on the beat. So I wanted to leave quite a bit of the low frequency space empty to make room for the bass line. So moving on to the bass, we've got this here. As you can hear, quite reminiscent of the Two Slags one, which I was trying to emulate, but with a few less gaps in it, so it's a little bit more pacey. If we just go into the MIDI part for it here, you can see how it's put together. Very simple, just one note is the main note of the bass, with just little drops down to another note, little gap, and then a high note at the end. The sound itself was, again, pretty simple, really. It was on Sylinth, and it was just the Moog bass, which is one of the rather nice presets on there that was just tweaked around a little bit to get it to fit right. And as you can hear, it's just that played really low down the keyboard. So that's the Two Slags thing, and it's very similar to that. So yeah, that was that. The bass kind of came together pretty quickly, really. I didn't need too much in the way of processing on that. The EQ and everything, there was a little bit of EQ on the kick, but the bass itself seemed to sit pretty well as it is. So I just put a little bit of saturator on, which, as you can hear, just gives it a little bit of bite, but it's quite subtle, really. Just gives that kind of pluck at the start of the note a little bit more aggression. So the next thing that I moved on to before actually starting on the drums was some other stabs. So the first one here is very much the sort of classic old school stab that kind of era of hard house sort of used very heavily. And this is just, again, it's two sample pack stabs. It's actually off a free cover mount CD, I think. One a little bit higher than the other, just layered up together. So they just make a nice sort of thick stab sound. And the effects on them, again, pretty simple. Just a high pass to clean it up a little bit. Just take that little bit of bottom end out. Saturate it again, very subtle bit of overdrive. EQ, just bringing up the high mids a little bit, and a chorus and a reverb on the end. Chorus just gives it a little bit of width. The reverb there obviously just gives it a bit of space, and this filter here is not having a permanent effect on the sound, but if we just go into the automation here, you can hear the low pass filter there is just used to bring the stab in and out. So early on in the track, it's filtered down, gradually comes up. So that's the stab, and then just to fill in the end note to mimic the high note on the bass, I just picked yet another stab from the same pack actually, which just kind of fills the gap where in between the other ones. And the final part to the initial groove that I got down right at the start was this little vocal hit. Which just, again, gives it that kind of old school feel. So the groove where I started really was these parts together here. So yeah, that was the start point for this track. Before I got any vocals or drums or anything like that, and I kind of got that basic bit, which kind of got the feel of the track first. And then the next thing was drums, so we'll move on to that in the next part.